God is never late. His timing is not like ours, and though we measure our lives by clocks, calendars, and deadlines, He works on a schedule that cannot be rushed and cannot be delayed. To us, it often feels like He waits until the last possible moment, sometimes even after we think all hope is gone. But in truth, His timing is always perfect, always purposeful, and always good. From the beginning of creation, we see a God who moves at just the right time. The universe did not appear a second too soon or too late. It came into being exactly when He spoke. The stars were hung in the sky, the seas were set in place, and the earth spun into motion, all according to His word. Just as creation was not random, neither are the events of our lives. But the human heart wrestles with waiting. When God speaks a promise, we often want it fulfilled immediately. When we pray, we hope for an instant answer. And when pain lingers or doors remain closed, we begin to ask, Lord, have you forgotten me? Have you passed me by? Yet in those moments, God whispers, my child, I am never late. I am working while you wait. Look at Abraham and Sarah. God promised them descendants as numerous as the stars. Yet years passed, their bodies aged, and still the promise tarried. They struggled, they doubted, and at times they tried to help God with their own plans. But when the time was right, Isaac was born, not in human strength, but by God's miraculous intervention. Their long wait became a testimony for every generation. After them, God is never late. Consider Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, and left in prison. He might have felt abandoned. Days turned to years, and the promise God had shown him in dreams seemed buried. Yet when famine threatened nations, God lifted Joseph from the prison to the palace, placing him exactly where he needed to be, not a moment too soon, not a moment too late. Joseph could look back and say, what others meant for evil, God meant for good. Think of Moses and Israel at the Red Sea. The Egyptian army closed in, and the sea stood as an impossible barrier. To human eyes it was too late, but just as despair threatened to overwhelm them, God split the waters, making a way where there was none. His timing was exact. If He had acted earlier, Pharaoh might not have pursued, and the miracle would not have displayed His glory. If He had delayed, His people would have perished. But in the perfect moment, deliverance came. Then consider Daniel in the lion's den, thrown into a pit, sealed by a stone, surrounded by hungry beasts. It seemed as if God had abandoned him. Yet when dawn broke, Daniel emerged untouched, because God had sent His angel. To Daniel, the night was long, but it was not wasted. It became proof that God is never late. Mary and Martha knew this tension too. When Lazarus fell ill, they sent word to Jesus, but He did not arrive immediately. By the time He came, their brother was already 4 days in the tomb. Lord, if You had been here, they cried, he would not have died. They thought His delay meant the end. But Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. With a command, Lazarus walked out of the grave. What they thought was too late became the backdrop for one of the greatest miracles recorded. And then we see the cross. To the disciples, Jesus' death seemed like the end of the story. The one they followed, the one they hoped was the Messiah, was buried behind a stone. It felt late, too late. But on the third day, right on schedule, the stone rolled away. Death was defeated, and Christ rose victorious. The greatest act of redemption in history happened not a moment too early or too late. The resurrection is the eternal proof that God is never late. So what does this mean for us? It means that when the healing hasn't come, when the breakthrough hasn't arrived, when the door hasn't opened, we can trust that God's silence is not absence, His delay is not denial, and His timing is always for our good and His glory. What feels like waiting to us is preparation to Him. He is aligning circumstances, shaping our hearts, and orchestrating miracles in ways we cannot yet see. You may think it is too late for your family, too late for your dream, too late for your healing, too late for your calling. But the God who raised Lazarus, the God who opened the sea, the God who shut the lions' mouths, the God who raised Jesus from the dead, is still the same today. He is never late, And when his timing finally arrives, you will see why the wait was necessary. You will look back and say with tears of joy and faith, he was right on time.